Hi, this is Tim Charles from Ne Obliviscaris, and you're listening to Metal Wani. Hello.
Hey Tim, how are you doing?
Good, thank you. How about yourself?
I'm doing good. We have Citadel coming up. The release is just around the corner. You premiered the entire album as well. So, this being your basically the first album to release worldwide via Season of Mist, how have the fans responded so far?
It's been amazing. We've been really pleased with the responses from everyone. I guess whenever you have a first album, received really well, like we did with our debut Portal of Eye,
Right.
you always never really know what people will think of your follow up. And we were really confident. We finished the record, and we really felt that this was another step forward for us, that this was the absolute best record that we could make at this time in our careers. And it seems that lots of people are agreeing with us so far. So hopefully that keeps up, and the album ends up being a big success.
Indeed. Now, Citadel, finds the band, let's say, refining and owning your unique sound, which you guys already established in Portal of Eye. So, what sort of an approach did you guys took this time on this album?
I think this time around, the big difference for us was that with Portal of Eye, the songs were written between from around a 5-year period, as is often the case for a band's debut album. And
Right.
we had lineup changes, and we had issues and delays, and it took us 9 years from when the band first started in 2003 to actually get our first album out, in 2012.
True.
Whereas for this album, it got to about January 2013, and we'd been touring a bit around Australia for Portal of Eye, and it had only been out for 7 or 8 months. But we decided to take a few months then and there to start moving forward and getting to work on a new record. And we pretty much wrote all of Citadel in 6 to 9 months, and the recording process was a lot smoother. I mean, last time we had lots of delays, and I think from the moment we recorded drums to actually finishing the album was over a year. Whereas with this, it was all done in sort of 6 7 weeks, and I guess that really affected things because as opposed to Portal of Eye, which sort of comes across, in my mind as a bunch of short stories,
Right.
whereas Citadel to me is just the one big story, and that's the album. And I think the fact that it was written in a short amount of time, it meant that it kind of came across a bit more unified this time, which we're really happy with.
I absolutely agree with that because the Portal of Eye was kind of lacked direction and actually proved too much for some new listeners to swallow. But then when I listen to Citadel, it has a distinct path, let's say a perfect path from start to finish. And since it's also shorter, it makes it even more interesting and album flows even more smoother for fans.
Yeah, they're very different types of albums. Of course, Port of Eye being 72 minutes,
Right.
it's enormous. And I mean, I think, for us, we originally thought, this time around, maybe we might aim for an album that's 50, 60 minutes or something like that, which is
Mhm.
pretty standard for a band of our style. But in the end, like, this is what fit together. We had a couple other songs that we were working on, but they didn't quite fit with the songs that we ended up putting on Citadel, and these
Right.
things, all fitted together perfectly. We didn't really want to disrupt that just to make it longer. We thought, this fits together perfectly, just like it is, and let's just leave it like this, and put it out there, and hopefully everyone appreciates what we've done.
That's really great about it because the seamless transitions of the heavy material which you guys come up with, and then you have the jazz-like classical instrumentation. Now that demands attention. But with all these additional styles that set you guys apart from other bands, you guys never lose of what's important, and that is the metal.
Yeah, I think for us, I mean, we started off, without many acoustic sections, without a lot of that progressive elements. And then we slowly brought it in there. But I mean, for us, we still love, we love fast kicks and blast beats and
Right.
harsh vocals, and we love everything. So like sometimes, we like having some really pretty acoustic section, and just as much as we like some really extreme black metal section. And within the band, we all listen to lots of different types of music, lots of different types of metal and non-metal. And
Right.
for us, the most important thing is the song. We really don't care what genre it is. We really don't care what it sounds like, as long as we love it and we think it works as a song.
Mm-hmm.
So as long as we can make it work and flow, then the genre for us really, it just depends how we're feeling, that week, that month, whatever comes out.
Right. I completely agree, because that's where the fans feel a bit confused in a way that, okay, now Neo's music is more like an amalgamation of vast influences. But how do you guys manage to strike the right balance between the ambient sections and then the heavier sections?
I think it took us a little while to get good at that. I think that was something we worked out over the earlier period of our career, when we didn't have an album out. So we did a lot of that experimentation and trial and error with our writing, I guess, out of the public eye, which in some ways sort of benefited us. We could sort of make a few mistakes with the way we write things.
Right.
Before everyone knew who we were, and then sort of, learn from them, for these, international releases.
True.
But I guess in the end, it's really just about, we just try to listen to what the song needs. And, for us, there are times where, we might think the song is going in one direction and it goes somewhere completely different. Like,
Right.
For example, in the song Devour Me Colossus, Part 1, about 4 or 5 minutes into that, we were writing that and we thought, let's take this into this real, extreme black metal direction.
Right.
And we couldn't quite get it to work. And then we ended up coming with an idea, which was that acoustic section and like the 2.5 minute violin solo, which is the complete opposite. But that was what worked. And so, that's the main thing we try to focus on. Just, what actually makes the song better, what helps the flow and the direction of the song. And sometimes you try something out, and if we agree that it doesn't work, we just keep trying different things until something gels. And, we sort of have, I guess, that confidence in our ability that, if we think it gels, if we think it sounds great, then we're pretty confident that, there'll be some people out there that will hopefully agree with us.
That's the beauty, because you guys have that, you start with the 3 minute, you give that a slow start to the album, then you nail a 16-minute masterpiece, then again a slow start. So it's more like, I feel it's a conscious decision to make sure that the fans get a little bit of a break before the havoc comes into the picture.
Yeah, I guess that we definitely, try to put a bit of ebb and flow. We sort of, if we've had, a really long period of, real, brutal death metal or something like that, then,
Right.
We'll sort of think about that. Okay, now could be a good time to do something different. I mean, it's the same in live sets, like we never really start the show, with an acoustic number,
Right. That's true.
And we sort of approach the album track listing the same way, we approach trying to do our live shows. It's trying to grab people's interest in some way, and sort of, try to, keep their interest from that first moment all the way through to the end.
Right. Now, you also seem to have taken a fresh approach with respect to the violin this time around. So what influenced that change?
I think it was just about trying to continue experimenting with different sounds. I mean, a couple of years further on, I'm a little bit better at the violin, a couple of more years of practice. And, I'm always looking at trying to push in different directions. One thing I think that I did more on this album was explore some more unusual sounds, things with more effects. There's more bits with heaps of delay or distortion. This album than there was less of that pure violin sound. Like it's still there, but there's probably more variation in the types of violin parts on this album. And really, that's just, I think, the type of musician I am. That I would get bored doing the same thing on every album. So when we were writing this record, I really made a conscious decision to think, okay, well, what other things can I do that would be just as good, if not better, but keep pushing the envelope. And if that's come across, then that's great to hear.
And you're influenced a lot with John Petrucci as well. Recently met those guys, huh?
Yeah. I was very lucky. They were just here in Melbourne, Australia, just a few days ago, and got the chance to meet a couple of the guys after the show, which was great. Because even though we don't really sound much like Dream Theater, they're definitely a band that influenced a few of us, as songwriters. And I mean, their album "Scenes from a Memory" was the first thing I heard from them, and that's an album that for me just flows seamlessly from start to finish.
Yes,
and that
concept album.
Yeah, and I guess that's where with an album like Citadel, I like that flow, that you get in albums like Scenes from Memory, and that's the sort of thing we were going for in a different way, with Citadel.
Super cool. Now, what about the vocals? I mean, how do you guys, you and Sinoy, come to an understanding that whose vocals would go on specific sections?
A lot of the time, when we're writing, the guitar riffs and the drums will come first.
Right.
And then over time, we'll discuss things amongst ourselves. So, we might be writing some of the guitar riffs, and one of us might have an idea initially to do, something over a particular section, whether it's violin for me or clean vocals or heavy vocals for Zen. And, so we'll have a little bit of an idea as the writing process goes, but sometimes to get that balance right between the two of us, a lot of stuff doesn't get finalized until we actually lock down the structure with all the guitars. And, we'll often just, chat about who's got good ideas for where. And, sometimes if we both have a good idea, we see if it can work together, or, if there's only room for one idea, we'll sort of see who has the strongest, thing there. But, often it sort of works pretty well. I mean, we've been working together for a long time, the two of us, and, we started to, get a pretty good idea of, what sort of sections, suit, each of our strengths.
That mutual understanding is there between you guys.
Yeah. And, the good thing for us is, we've worked out ways for us to be able to, do things at the same time as well. So there's, lots of times where I'm playing violin, where he's singing, or even when we're both singing at the same time. And, that gives us a bit more freedom. So it doesn't feel like, you're trying to, wrestle for, a role in the song. It's good because we can just do whatever serves the song, and there's heaps of room for both of us, which is great.
Absolutely. Now let's talk about Kickstarter, because that's something which blew everyone's mind. I mean, it was a risky move. We've seen a lot of bands failing with fan funding, but how did it feel not only to reach the target, but having raised double the amount?
It was amazing. There's no other way to put it. It was absolutely amazing. We had 60 days to try and reach 40,000 Australian dollars, and we hit the target in 38 hours.
Yeah.
Which was incredible. I mean, I guess when you plan something like this, like you said, you never really know what's going to happen. All you can do is plan and do all the research best you can, and then you throw the idea out there to the public, and you see if they're keen to get behind you. So we're very grateful that we have such amazing fans that have supported us in such a big way, and helped guarantee that we're going to be able to take this band and these songs around the world.
That's super cool. But I always wondered, is $40,000 Australian dollars enough to do a world tour? I mean, I'm not aware of how much it basically takes. So is it enough for you guys to go for a world tour?
Well, I mean, it's not enough to pay for it by itself. I mean, I haven't worked out all the costs yet, but I mean, the total costs for a world tour, like for what we're planning, would be well over $100,000. So,
Okay.
and then what people don't even realize is that, of course, there's a lot of expenses that, have to be paid out of the money. Like, we had over 500 people, buy T-shirts, but of course we've got to, use some of that money to press the T-shirts and post them and things like that. So, but we have enough to make it viable. We make some money on some of these tours, especially here in Australia, and hopefully the CD goes well. And worst case scenario, we'll put in our own money to make it happen. I mean, we want to do this, and when we set that target, it was more about going, what is the absolute minimum that we need to be able to guarantee? So when we got double the amount. That just meant that, it was less money we had to pull out of our own pockets as a band to be able to do these things, which was amazing, because I guess for, a lot of people don't necessarily, realize that for a lot of bands like us who, aren't sort of, huge superstars or anything like that, you invest your own money to tour over the world, and, you don't sort of do it as for a living at this stage. And, a lot of bands, when they tour internationally, they lose a lot of money. And so the great thing with this is it allows us the opportunity to tour to all of these markets and, guarantee some exposure there. And then hopefully that'll help, the band get a lot bigger, so we can, get some money back and keep doing it ongoing for many years to come.
Absolutely. Now, judging with how the Kickstarter campaign went, you obviously have a clear idea that many of your fans are willing to buy your stuff. But like I said earlier on a Facebook wall as well, piracy is inevitable. How much has piracy hurt Neo as a band?
I think for us, honestly, I think the positives have outweighed the negatives so far in our career. In that the benefits of piracy and people downloading stuff for free is it allows people to check out
the band,
more bands that they might not otherwise, which for new bands is a good thing.
True.
The big negative is that it makes it harder for bands to make a living out of it.
Right.
So, for a band to get to where we are, in some ways it's helped us. But of course, we're at the stage now where, like we're possibly going to be spending several months away touring around the world next year. And, some of us might have to quit our day jobs, or, you got to leave all these things behind. And, it puts the band in a position, and, a lot of bands like us, where you either start making money off the band to help pay your bills, or eventually you turn it into a hobby and you just do it when you can, which is unfortunately what happens to a lot of like bands who don't make really big.
True.
So I guess that's the thing that people need to be aware of, that if you are a big fan of any band, if you want them to keep making music, like the best thing you can do is buy their CD and their T-shirt and go to their shows. And because I mean, when you think about it, it's not an easy industry to make money off, to make a living off. And as much as like nobody starts a band to try and make money.
Right.
But it's more just trying to make sure that you don't send yourselves bankrupt. That's what most bands are. They're just trying to make sure that they can get by, because in order to tour you have to leave your jobs. And so if you
survival.
So I mean, if you take 4 months off work and you don't get paid, from the band, well, then I mean, you've lost 4 months of income, which is pretty difficult to recover. I mean, so I mean, that's where there are definitely positives. It definitely makes it a lot easier for new bands to get their music out there.
Right.
But yeah, it also makes it a bit harder to make a career out of it. So there's that sort of positives and negatives with the way the industry is now.
That's right. November 8th onwards, you guys will be on tour with Beyond Creation, the Canadian Tech Debt Masters. So what are the preparations for the particular tour? I think it's just around 7 to 8 shows in and around Australia.
Yeah, so we have one sort of smaller show this weekend down in Tasmania, which is just us. And then, yeah, in about 2.5 weeks, I think it is, got Beyond Creation coming down and playing 6 or 7 shows, I think, in 9 days around Australia.
Right.
Which is going to be lots of fun. We love those guys. We're big fans of Beyond Creation, and definitely excited to have them on the tour and to get out on the road and play some of these songs off Citadel for the first time.
That's super cool. And what about India? Now, that being said, because a lot of Neo fans in India were really expecting you guys to tour, at least by, let's say, last year. But now with the new album coming out, there seems to be more possibilities of you coming and at least playing in Bangalore.
Yeah, we are really, really excited to get to India as soon as we can. We were hoping to make it happen last year. There was a couple things that almost came off, but they didn't. But I can confirm that we're talking to some promoters at the moment, and we're very hopeful that we'll be in India, sometime very soon. So hopefully we'll have news for all our Indian fans before too long.
Super cool. Now, this one simple question I'd like to ask you, like, if you had to sell a non-metalhead, I mean, if you had to sell your new album Citadel to a non-metalhead, and you could use only one sentence, what would you say?
Well, that's a difficult one. Listen to track 3.
That's it? Listen to track 3?
Yeah. I think sometimes, for me here in Australia, I work as a violin teacher, when I'm not away touring. And so, I'll have, parents or kids or something like that will hear I'm in a band, and I know that they really don't like metal or anything like that. So I'll always, say something along the lines of that, if it sounds a bit too scary, skip to this track and maybe you'll like that instead. Now, I used to do that with Portal of Eye. It would be like, if the first track sounds a bit scary, skip to the song Forget Not. You'll like that one instead. So, but I think there's definitely, lots of non-metal stuff there that people can appreciate. But, we are obviously, still a heavy band. So, if people like it, they do. And if they don't, that's fine also.
Absolutely, Tim. Now, I'll end the interview by asking you a simple question to define new album Citadel in just one sentence.
Our finest achievement to date.
Bingo. That's great. Tim, had a great chat with you today. I wish you all the best for the tour ahead, for all the tours you guys are doing in 2015, and for the album sales by A Season of Mist. Have a great time ahead.
Thank you very much for the interview and all your support, and we can't wait to get to India sometime very soon.